So Devin and I have had very little time to coordinate and get on the same page as far as this interview is concerned, or whatever we're calling this. So patience from everyone as we kind of figure this out. But kind of the idea behind this is to interview some of our agents and thought leaders within the brokerage and kind of get their take on the current market. We hear a lot from brokers like me and Matt and Ron, but we don't necessarily get to hear from some of our agents what's actually working in the field, what they're up to, and how we can kind of take that and replicate that in our business to help propel us forward. So with that, as a little bit of an intro, Daryl, do we want to? Oh, we are recording.
Yes, we are. And don't forget to ask everyone if they have questions, use the Q&A icon on the bottom of the screen.
Hey, you just did. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Okay, Devin. So I did a little research about you. Oh, also, before we get going, if anybody has a good name for this podcast, let us know. We need to figure something out. I had a couple ideas kicking around, but I'd love to hear, from y'all if you do have a good idea. So we've kind of done the purpose of the podcast, and so let's get off and running. So Devin, you're in our Pleasant Grove office.
Yeah.
You've been in Utah County your whole career, and this is really interesting. On Remax.net, they have a little bio, and so Devin, it says you're married, 3 kids. What ages are your kids?
Yeah, that bio's dated. Things have changed the last couple of years. So I was married with 3 kids, and now I'm remarried with 6 kids. Skip the diaper stage on the next 3. It was easier.
Smart man.
Yeah, I have 6 kids, 18 at the top, and then 16, and then my 3 land at 11, 9, and 7. And then we've got one more at the end there at 6. So we've got a 6-year-old to 18-year-old. And I got a 9-passenger party van with LED lights and a TV in it for road trips.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I knew you inherited some kids. You had some of his and hers, and that sounds like a party. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like your life is busy at all with games and dance and cheer and whatever else you got going on.
Exactly.
It's not.
I just skip all that. No, just kidding.
Well, you got to pay for it, and let's get to this. So the other part of your bio says that you got your license when you were 22. Before you're 30, you sold 300 homes, and you're already a Hall of Fame member, Remax, a Lifetime Achievement recipient, and you're a regular in the Titan and Chairman clubs. So Devin, you don't mess around. You get after it. Tell us about your realtor journey, like where you started and kind of where you are now.
Yeah. Well, it started probably when I was like 10. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad at a young age. My dad told me to read it, and then I liked it, and I started. Then my dad got me the video game on computer on a CD back in the day, and so you could play the investment game on the computer by Rich Dad Poor Dad called Cash Flow. So I always thought I'd be like more of an investor in real estate, but anyways, that got me interested. And then from there, once I got to be like 18, well, I guess 21, then I'm like, all right, I got to get serious. What am I going to do for work? I never did want to go to college. I did some college online, but never finished. And I decided I got to just go all in on real estate. And if that doesn't work, then I'll go to college. So I wanted to do real estate very badly because I really didn't want to do college. So I went to a few brokerages in 2008 and 9. Where I interviewed around, and I'm from California, so those brokerages all said they're barely in business. That led me to visit some friends in Utah, where I asked a couple more brokerages, and I did get the same story at first, but then I ran into a brokerage that was heavy on Mike Ferry training. And they just said, hey, we're working harder than ever, but we're doing better than ever. And so I started there under Mike Ferry training, cold calling, doing for sale by owners and expireds, and I did pretty well doing that. I mean, for my first year in 2009, I think I sold like 11 homes in 7 months. And then I was carrying 12 active listings at the time, waiting for those to sell still. And like, I was really ramping up, but I realized that the Mike Ferry training alone and that brokerage alone was half of what's out there. And I got recruited into Remax, where I discovered buying leads as well. So then now I'm doing both, taking the easy leads, working hard for the FISBOs, and then that kind of doubled my production from there. And I have been kind of working online leads for the following 10 years. And that leads me to, I'm 36 now. So from 21 to like 30 years old, I was basically working tons of online leads, trying to call around 120 people a day in order to speak to 40 of them. And that was kind of the numbers, is just do lots of follow-up. And that led to having somewhere around probably close to 1,000 sales now. And now I basically am by referral from all those online leads that had got converted as past clients.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, man.
That's the short.
What's that?
Hopefully that's the short story version.
No, that is the short story, right? But that's the story people are looking for, right? And I think that's really key is, and I don't want to maybe come back to it, but maybe we double down on that point right now is, like meeting someone and having them be a stranger and then turning them into a client for life.
Yeah.
Like what does that look like? How do you do that?
Well, regardless of where the source is from, whether they came from Zillow, Realtor.com, TruliaHomes.com, whatever, I bought leads from all of them, and they're all the same. And I've even tracked their days to closing. They're within like 2 days from lead to closing on average for a whole year that we tracked. 60 days versus 62 days versus from Zillow to Realtor.com. Like they had the same conversion rate. Things have changed the last couple of years, but for the most part, they're pretty much the same. But meeting somebody for the first time, I've noticed there's phases. Like, and I've trained agents, I've had a team. I currently do not have a team. I decided it's not worth the time and effort. But I noticed in training different people on leads using the same scripts, there's different things that happen in stages. I've seen people very good at the phones and setting appointments, and then those first appointments don't turn to seconds.
Yeah.
Or I've seen them set appointments like super easy. They're really good at showing them homes forever, but they never write offers. And I notice these themes where you're either afraid to be on the phone to convert the lead at first into an appointment, but once you get over that fear and you sharpen up your scripts and your skills on the phone, you get good at that. But then the next hurdle is, well, how do I make people feel comfortable in that first impression, and that I'm knowledgeable and low pressure and comfortable enough to reach back out to for a second home tour? And then you start showing homes, and then I realize there's new agents especially have a fear of writing an offer because they don't know how to do it. So it's almost like they'll show homes and never write offers because they're almost not inviting it with their energy because they're afraid of that step. So there's like a knowledge where you become a trusted realtor and you know what you're doing, and that converts leads better than anything. Is just having confidence, and knowledge is what gives you that confidence to be able to solve the problem. They inquired because they want a home,
Right.
but they may not think, it might be intimidating. How do we sell and buy? How do we, get a second or a third VA loan or whatever, like there's just different things where your knowledge increases and you're starting to structure deals and all the addendums for it, and it comes across as very comfortable for the buyer. But if you're nervous, they're nervous.
No, I like that. I think, that knowledge part of it is super important, and to be able to kind of have enough experience with folks so where where their questions might be, what they might ask, where this discussion might go, and you kind of help them lead them along the road. And I love your point of like, dude, they called you, right? Like they want to buy a home, right? And so being not timid and saying like, hey, like, do you want to write an offer? And like, you know, when they're kind of nervous. And oh, by the way, did you know, like, if we were to write an offer, we actually have 3 points of you know, where our offer would be contingent upon, you know, various inspections and other things to make them feel more comfortable about taking the next step, that they're not locked in, you know, money's out the door, they can never get it back if they were to move forward and take the next step.
Yeah.
I think that is key. For a new agent, like how do you get that knowledge? Is it just like you just got to do it, or like what did you do to get that knowledge?
Well, I had asked an agent in my first office. Um, I'll give her a little credit, Cody Yeck. She was kind of a top agent when I was brand new. And I asked her one time, would you mind sharing with me what you know about this contract? Like, help just one. And she said, basically, read all the addendums yourself.
Mm.
So I did. And that's what I've been recommending to everybody else that I've trained as well. Like, before you even go show homes, read every word on the contract and go through the MLS and get familiar with all those addendums, because they're going to plant ideas for all these random scenarios. That's why there's like 100 of the forms, because
Yeah.
they're there for a reason. And when you recognize the scenario, you'll be able to pull out all the information to solve the problem for the buyers.
Yeah. I
So
like
I
that.
recommend actually reading it, knowing it. And when it comes to the contract, like, even still, like Matt Barton as our principal broker, he's on another level. If you ever think you know what the contract means, it's like, talk to him and you realize you don't.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. And sometimes I've enjoyed even Stringham School's online video library for CE courses. Take some of those random ones that are not core, and they teach you stuff. And then you go talk to your clients about it, make social media posts about the random things you're learning in your CE.
Hmm. I know you do that a lot. You do a lot of education through your social media. Do you have a specific strategy, like a posting schedule? Is it just as it comes? Like what's your schedule there, if you
Uh,
have?
I would say that my social media is definitely, I wouldn't say that it should be somebody's example, because there's other agents that probably do it a lot better. But what works for me is to just be myself. I don't have a big following full of people I don't know.
Mm,
They're mostly my past clients that I trust to follow, to have on my account, and then friends and family and network. So, but what's worked for me is Instagram stories. That way it's not permanent. I load it up with work and personal, and I try to be a real person on there. I share a lot of my life on there, and that keeps it normal and not just like, if you were to go to an Instagram page for an actual real estate company, there's nothing personal about the people. And a
mm,
lot of the realtors keep it all business, and it works for them. I think that they do well that way. I haven't figured that strategy out, but what does work for me to help with just getting referrals from my network is be sure to add your past clients. But I share what interests me, and that's that. I just kind of gave up. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but a lot of the Mike Ferry coaching, it is about learning everybody's personality styles and what they value and how to speak to them. And
yeah.
and I do think that that's important.
Yeah.
But as far as my social media goes, I kind of don't care about that, and I just do what interests me. So if I want to talk about what I think is going on in the market, I try to find. I'm very analytical, so most of my posts are analytical information, and some people resonate with that or not. But what's funny is, like, I went to a MXPX concert, just getting older and whatever, is like, that'll be kind of funny. And so I went and I posted just a shot of that, and I had a lot of past clients heart that.
Yeah.
So whatever, they don't care about the market stats. They
Yeah.
care about XPX, because we're all getting old to be, old millennials now. And so
Yeah.
I've noticed that different things spark reactions out of different people. And the point is to just stay top of mind and be a good person that they can trust.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever gotten a referral from social media? Or not a referral. Let me rephrase that. Have you ever made contact with someone on social media who you never had met before? So it was your first introduction from them. They didn't know him from Adam. They don't know you through, two other people, like a stranger, a true stranger. Have you ever met someone on social media that was a true stranger that you ended up doing a deal with?
I have not. I have had my profile set to private until like a week or two ago because I did want one post to get out there. But no, I've had my stuff private because I have my kids on there and stuff. But that's kind of like the next step I want to go. I'm trying to figure out how to use my social media in a way that affects people I don't know and brings value to people that I don't know. I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
but so yeah, but what is
I,
working is almost all my referrals started kicking in when I started using my Instagram stories, to be honest.
Interesting. It's good to
Yeah.
know.
I went
Um,
to a personal trainer who grew his business and I was watching him do it from his Instagram trainer or from his Instagram stories. And
yeah,
so I realized I could do that and it actually works.
that's great. Yeah, to me, that's what social media is. So I'm with you. Like, it's just a fantastic way to reach out to, all of your people, to be in their lives, your face, your personality, let them know that Devin hasn't changed, that you're still in the business, and all that good stuff. I think that's a great way to reach out to people. Janelle, who's on this call, she and I have an ongoing bet that if she ever meets a true stranger through social media well, not advertisement, but through her posts on social media, that I'll pay for her in Vegas for a weekend. So it's
That's cool.
yeah, I know people do it. Like, well, think people do it because people say they do, but I don't know anyone that actually like really has an awesome online, you know, lead generation kind of profile thing. I think for most of us, it's just a perfect way to connect with our people.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. I don't know if it's the first strategy I would start on to get more business to become some public figure. But if you look at the ones that have done well, well, I mean, Utah Real Estate Page, her Instagram, she does very well with it. But I look at how many homes she sells, and it's not necessarily like she's a top producer. So
Yeah,
is that the best strategy?
yeah,
To each their own. Ryan Kramer should be here, and he does it the hard way, but sells more than most people. And so there's lots of different ways, and if you gravitate more towards being a public figure, like go for it. But I don't think it's like the answer to everything.
yeah. And you know, I looked at that same person, when she was on a national podcast and, kind of brought on as a marketing guru, listen to this person, what she's doing. And I saw her production was like 20 sales the year before. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of letting you think it's someone who's a, thought guru on a national stage. But, she certainly has parlayed it into new relationships, and I think she's done a fantastic job landing builder accounts specifically with some of her online stuff. But she spends a ton of money, and like what you said, she's doing a fraction of the business that probably you're doing, and certainly Kramer and some other folks. So to each their own. That's right.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think
so
it's a good. Go
let's
ahead.
yeah, no, let's one of the things you said is you like to use it to talk to your people about like current events and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? Have you talked very much, have you had very much interaction with your clients about the NAR settlement? And if you have, like, what is your conversation like, and what concerns do you think they have, and how have you talked about that?
Well, I'm going to give Jimmy Rex some credit here, not about NAR, but one of the things I learned from Jimmy Rex is the biggest reason he even has big events, which he's done a good job at,
Yeah,
is because for weeks before he gets a reason to call all of his past clients,
yeah,
touch base. The event's almost irrelevant, but having a reason to call people. So the NAR settlement to me is drama and it's news and it's a reason to talk to people. So
mm,
I actually just did a podcast with Ben Achinilli. He's awesome, and he's my main guy for photos and video. And so I asked him, could we? Well, he asked me, like, you want to come down here and talk? And he offers that as extra value to his clients. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, so I did a podcast with him and we talked about it. And then I'll put it on my social media. And all it is an opinion, but people
yeah,
are interested. Nobody really knows, but they're interested. So you might as well talk while the drama's happening. And the more transparent you can be and less protective of your commissions and more in line with the consumer, the more they're going to trust you as things go forward. So I'm having very candid conversations with people though. I mean, I had a seller that I've had two sellers strategize their buyer agent commission in light of this news. And they're asking me, why do we need to do anything at all? And so my response has been, you legally don't. And I could care less because I don't get $1 of the buyer agent commission. I don't care what you do. I think it's in your best interest. Here's why. You get to make the decision. Why am I going to lose a listing over a buyer agent commission?
Yeah.
It doesn't. Let the buyers go and like now. Do I go into a seller saying we don't need to do buyer agent? Let's not. No, I don't. But if they're going to bring it up as a major concern, the truth is, what are the rules? We don't have to put $1 anymore. So that's what I tell them. I just tell them what the facts are. The facts are you do not have to. The way that plays out, though, is buyers, most cases, don't have enough money to pay for an agent. That's why they're asking you for closing costs in the first place and for a $500 home warranty, because they don't have an extra cash after the down payment in most scenarios. So would you like me to single-handedly find that buyer, which eventually I'm sure I can do, or we can invite the 11 to 12,000 agents out there and offer them something and see if they'll bring some buyers. So I said I would recommend, now I've never offered less than a 2% myself, but in light of these changes, and you seem pretty convinced you don't want to offer anything, I'd recommend at least a 1% gratuity is what I called it. Now, if a buyer agent gets down the line and they bring us a solid offer and they want to ask for 2 or 3 or whatever, I don't care. I'll present that. And if their offer is good enough, maybe the seller will agree. But for now, I'm not going to make all that my problem. But it is in the seller's best interest to offer something. And I firmly believe that. So I share that. Am I going to make it a deal breaker? No, I'm not. So
do you have any current listings that are at 0 or less than 2?
no, but Clay Winder does.
Yeah.
So Clay's got a 0 right now, and that's because that's what the seller wanted. I just met with a guy who I'm telling the story about, and he agreed to offer a 1%. He said he didn't want to offer anything. And then I revisited with him 3 days later as we finalized our deal, and he agreed to a 1%. So that'll be the lowest that I'm approaching here in the next 2 weeks on like a $600,000 listing. So that'll be new, but in most cases, my listings have still been 2.5%.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a seller on Saturday morning, and they brought up the whole NAR, and they kind of wanted to wait to list until July. And I'm like, well, it's already here, right? Like, you know, we have been negotiable forever. Devin, I sign a lot of your paperwork. I know that you are negotiable with your clients. But I was telling him, like, as far as the market acceptance of less than, 2 or 3 or 2.5 or whatever the case may be as a buyer agent offering, like, we're here or we're there. And I think buyer agents are going to get more skilled with asking for more money. And I think we've been in a place where most buyer agents haven't been skilled with asking for more money. And so I think that for a lot of buyer agents, they might increase their income because they're going to get better at saying, hey, you're only offering, 2 or 1.5 or whatever the case may be. I really like my baseline's 2.5 or 3. I've discussed this with my clients. Here's our counter. In fact, I'm selling a 55 plus condo in Lehigh, and that's the exact scenario. The seller wanted to offer 2. We the buyer agent came and asked 2 for an extra 0.5%, and the seller agreed to it. So
Yeah.
I think we're already here. I don't think it's going to change much moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to be as scary as everybody says, and I don't see the builders making changes either. I mean, there's a builder out in Eagle Mountain right now offering 6% to their buyer agents. So
really?
yeah, and it's like buyers agents are needed. I do believe that the industry and the lawsuit attacked the wrong side. You know, and I tell sellers that I'm like, well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if I've told that to sellers or not, but I'm thinking about it. I'm like, there's listing people that'll do it for $100. There's no buyer agent out there that's going to represent a buyer for $100 because it takes too much time and money and
Yeah.
gas, you know?
Yeah.
And so of the two roles, like one takes a whole lot more time than the other. And I think it's interesting we attack the one, but the reality is all I know, keeping it simple, is that's the role that's needed more, truthfully. And so I just don't see it going to zero. Maybe there's some bad scenarios and some few and far between bad stories, but I think more often than not, you look at all these homie ones. I just had another client reach out to me. Actually, my car dealership that I've been loyal to, they were not loyal at first and listed it with homie. And then with all their changes going on, he reached out to me and he's looking for a deal. He's the owner of a car dealership. So he's like, so what would you charge? He's like, we don't, he's like, clearly, if I'm going to have to pay an agent, I'm going to work with you. So what would you charge? And I said, well, before I answer that, what's the price range of your house? So I know what kind of percentages we're talking about. And what were you offering to the buyer agent before? He's offering a full 3% on a $2.8 million house.
Wow.
I'm fine at 1%. Let's put your buyer agent at 2% and I'll save you homie's cost. I'm going to actually net you better right off the start. You didn't need to offer 3% on $3 million. And so, yeah, commissions are negotiable. I think if we stop protecting other people's families in the industry that we're not related to and just take care of the seller who's asking us for guidance, teach them how it really is. I think one of my favorite lines has become through all this, commissions are negotiable. As you know, commissions are negotiable. We just need to start saying that. It's negotiable with me. It's negotiable with the buyer's agent. I'm not willing to do it for less than 2% today on my side. I don't care what you offer a buyer agent. Here's what you want to consider as you contemplate what you offer them. You know, and I shared a story to this guy who wanted to do zero. You know, like most for sale by owners are attracting, I don't know if I broke a rule in this. I didn't know that. I don't think you can be for sale by owner as an agent, right?
No, we can't.
Yeah, I didn't know that at one point. So I put a sign up without any advertising one time.
Yeah.
And the only offer I got was like 25,000 low. So I said no, and then I put it up on the MLS the right way, and I offered a 2.5%. And so that costs like 12 grand in buyer agent commission, but I got $35,000 more than that other offer.
Wow.
So I shared that experience, but I've learned since then that that was all illegal to begin with. I didn't realize, but firsthand experience, like I got a better offer, netting me more money, offering a buyer agent commission. It's worth it. So if you don't think so, that's fine. That's your choice.
Yeah. I've revamped my listing presentation over the last 4 months, and I've added 2 slides. One slide is from Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's done national studies that shows that the seller will receive 11% more if they use a full service brokerage over, you know, a for sale by owner. So 11%, that's a significant amount of money. Our average home around here is $550. So you're talking like $50,000, right?
Yeah.
And your experience is true to that. The other thing I added is I did a 6-month look back in Traverse Mountain, and I looked at full service brokerages versus discount or flat fee brokerages, right? So, you know, Remaxes and Keller Williams and Berkshires, you know, all those brokers. I just said, I don't know who the agent is, but if you're with that brokerage, you're probably doing some sort of full service, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
You have a plan, you for professional photographs, you probably are a good negotiator, or your broker or whomever maybe is helping you with negotiating. I'm just assuming that you're a good agent, right? And then the flat fee guys, I'm assuming that you're not getting that help, right? That, you know, maybe like, hey, give me money, right, and I'll list it for you.
Yeah.
My contention with Homie has been not that they're cheap, but they're probably too much for the service provided. It's $2,500, and I think it's now $3,500. It's probably too much money.
Yeah.
Right. And so the difference, the delta between you know, a full service outfit versus the flat fee outfit, over a 6-month period of time with 200 closings and a good sample size on each side, was 6% different for the flat fee. You know, that the full service broker would get you 6% more. They paid the buyer's agent a teeny bit more. It was 2.68 versus 2.37. The full service offer would offer more to the buyer's agent. The other difference was concessions. That the flat fee guys gave away, I think it was 1.53 of the purchase price, where the full service guy gave away 0.93.
Yeah.
So there's a 6%, more than a 0.5% delta between the concessions. And so when you put it all together, it's close to 7% difference. And the average home up in Traverse Mountain is $8.5, you know, $850,000, right? So it's a significant amount that sellers are leaving on the table by using a flat fee agent, even though they think they're saving money, and the billboards would say that they're saving tens of thousands of dollars and eat my shorts and yada yada yada. That they're just not, you know, it's when you actually compare them, they're not doing the service that they say they're doing.
Yeah, I think all that's like good to have up your sleeve. And sometimes if people are truly wanting to weigh it all out, like, you got to have all those stats in order to help them make a decision. But I just feel like in one way or another, the realtors are losing a bit of like this exclusive control over selling homes, it feels like to me. But the way to get ahead of that is just embrace that fact and realize, I love saying this, I work for you. I'm sharing this information. You're the boss. You get to make those final decisions. And that's how I think, because if you look at what the relationship fundamentally is, a seller is hiring you to help them sell their home. Do they care about the buyer agent? They don't, because they don't value it yet. But if you can explain a little bit of value in what the buyer's agent's role does, and then let them make that final decision, you know, like, but there's no, and then the buyer's agents are going to have to just get better at asking for extra commissions if they're low. I'd still show those homes and then ask for more. When the money's in front of them and the bottom line is presented to a seller, it's hard to say no sometimes. And you might win some, you might lose some. But as listing agents, which really we all need to start focusing more on, why in the world are you not going to be 100% on your seller's side with each of their decisions? That's what they hired you to do.
100%. We had somebody on the webinar chat that asked if you could elaborate on your comments to sellers. So he said, here's what you should consider when offering a BAC. Would you go into a little bit more detail about what you say to sellers about offering buyer agent commissions?
Yeah.
Or buyer broker commissions, which there are now, right?
A buyer broker commission. Yeah. So I just say, I realize you don't want to pay $1 towards a buyer agent commission. And I understand that. Let's get you the highest net possible. That's what we're here for. So let me explain to you the value of a buyer agent and how many of them there are, which actually I need to get my stats brushed up, but I thought there's between 11 and 12,000. So that's just what I've been using in the Wasatch Front. And so I'm just saying, there's me, there's my marketing efforts, there's the videos that I produce, and there's my network. And the reality is, in between 25 and 30% of the time, I represent the buyer on my own listing. And I'm happy to give you a 0 on that buyer side. If that happens, I won't charge you. If that's what I told the seller who didn't want to offer anything. I said, so the reality is I do represent the buyer 20 to 30% of the time. But if we open it up to 11 to 12,000 other agents and buyers who barely know how to write a check, and some of them don't know how at all, and they don't have a checkbook, the industry is not going to expect them out of nowhere to know how to buy a house. And so they're working with buyer's agents. Most of the time, they're relationships they trust. Would you like to invite 11,000 of them to be aware of your listing? It's all supply and demand stuff. You're going to get the higher price by having more exposure. How much do you value that? You know, if I was prepared as you with all those stats, you could pinpoint a 6% gap of value that you're missing out on. for me, I left it up to them in that scenario. And I just said, I would at least recommend a 1%, knowing in my mind, I hope a buyer agent brings a great offer and asks for a little more. And worst the seller can do is say no. But at least we're getting maximum exposure, because I hate to be selfish and have agents hate me, but my fiduciary duty isn't to the buyer's agents, it's to the seller.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants. So if after that they still want to do a discount or a zero, whatever,
Yeah.
let the buyer agent take it from there. But I did my job to explain to them there is value in this, but I'm not going to get in the way of if they don't understand that. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still, right?
That's perfect.
So I just get the listing and do your job to the seller, because that's who you represent.
That's perfect.
I represent buyers half the time, so I could have a different perspective as a buyer's agent, but yeah.
But from a seller's perspective, no, I think that's the right information, right? Like, you're giving them all the information and let the guy make the decision, right? Or the seller, the woman, right? Make the decision. That's great.
Yeah, and I did say I've sold my own home 4 times, and I've always put at least a 2%, between 2 and 2.5. And the things that go into that, how great's my location? How great's my house? How great's my price point? If it's hard sell, then you might need to offer a little more. If it's going to be a slam dunk, you maybe offer a little less. That's how it works.
Yeah. Devin, a half an hour has gone by really fast.
Shoot.
Closer to 45 minutes. So let's wrap this up. But I've really appreciated your time. Before I let you go, if anybody has any Q&A, want to ask Devin a question, submit that now. And while you're doing that, Devin, I asked you to think about a couple things. One is favorite story. So something interesting or inspiring, a client interaction over your last, I don't know, what are we at now? Is it 16 years? Over your last 16 years, what's your favorite client story?
I don't know about my favorite client story, but I do have a story that I felt was pivotal in my business.
Yeah.
And I just had a very lucky scenario to have like my first big sale. And like in 2012, 13, average sale, I was so happy to make it $6,000. That'd be 3% on 200,000. Like, that was kind of a bigger deal. And I had like my first one at 8 or 900. And so I made 16,000, which at the time I lived in a 2-bed, 1-bath, 700 square foot little house I paid 70 grand for. That was a lot of money. And I invested it back into my business almost 100%. I committed at the time to Tiger Leads. They were one of those forerunners on Google click stuff.
Pay per click.
Yeah. And I had sold multiple homes that really set me up from that investment. That was kind of what enabled me to go buy leads and stop just doing the FSBOs expireds. And so anyways, that was kind of like a big deal for me. It was like the first time I had extra cash, and rather than go buy a boat or toys, it helped me to invest in my business, and from there skyrocket. So that was a very pivotal moment for me. I had a brand new baby. I think I had a hospital bill that I was paying $400 a month on. Like, I couldn't afford anything. And that was just that was the pivot for me.
That's awesome.
It was the first time I was able to have extra cash to reinvest into my business. And
That's awesome.
I would just encourage to make sure you're investing into your business one way or another. And to do a plug, like, you guys, for the first time in my career, you're offering these tacos for Cinco de Mayo. Like, that doesn't even cost us to invest into that. And that's a big deal. So just making sure you're investing in your business with any extra that you can is wise.
That's great, dude. What's the furthest you've gone to either list or show a property?
I just sold my first homes in St. George. I had some past clients that I really trusted to come through. So I signed up for the board down there and the MLS access, and I sold 2 different homes down there as a result, to one buyer and then that buyer's mom. And so that's the farthest. That and Bear Lake. I've sold a home up in Bear Lake too.
Awesome. Well, Devin, I can't thank you enough for being, on here this morning. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. I don't see any Q&A right now. So we'll before we sign off, like you said, there's a couple things. We do have taco trucks, in various locations for our offices to be able to invite their clients to. Lifetime Home Loans is supporting that. It's not going to be sponsored by them, right? You're not going to see a big Lifetime sign out there, so it's just for us, and that's super great. Also on the 16th, Amy Lessinger is going to be here. We're doing a lunch, so hopefully you see the email in your mailbox of to sign up for that RSVP, pick your lunch that you're going to have. And if you're not an agent with Remax Associates, we'd love to invite you to that as well. So let me know, and we'd love to have you there. And then lastly is a listing challenge. So Workman Success Systems had advertised a listing challenge, and I thought, man, this would be great. And then I saw all the things that they're doing for it, and there's no way we could replicate that. So we're doing a listing challenge. We're piggybacking off of what Workman Success is doing. So you got to sign up by tomorrow, but on May 1st it starts. It's $249. That $249 is 100% money back guarantee if you do not get at least 2 listings out of this. So 2 listings, our average price, that's significantly more than $249. So awesome. What Devin's talking about as far as investing in yourself, right? This is exactly right up that alley. They're going to help you, give you the tools to, propel your business forward, which includes an ebook on doubling your listings, an app to help you track, follow your success. You listen to Devin, he knows his numbers, right? He knows his conversion rates are 60% on Zillow and 62% on Realtor, or vice versa, right? So an app that helps you track, so your numbers, and then also coaching to go along with it, with regular calls from Burl and his team on what's working in the business and holding yourself accountable. So can't encourage everyone strongly enough to go do this and put a little effort out. And if you do so, they think you'll double the amount of listings that you got during the last year's same period of time. And AIG likes it so much that Ron has said that he will pay for an overnight stay in Park City with dinner at Ruth's Chris and a $500 gift card for everybody for the winner of the competition. And the winner will be measured as a percentage increase from last year's 4-month period to this year's 4-month period. So everybody has a chance to get that, not just Devin or Ryan that's going to win this thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's a compliment, Devin. You crushed it, dude.
Thanks. How do we sign up for that?
So great. I'll text. I have a text there is an email in your inbox from Aaron. So if you can look at Remax Associates, there's an email for the listing challenge, and that's where you'll find it. If you want a link, I'll text you a link as well. And Devin, I'll just shoot that to you. But if anybody else wants a link, just let me know and we can get that to you. So,
yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Devin. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right. Thanks.